So good evening everyone. So students, we are now going to continue our chapter 2, unit 2nd, that is market failure, right? Yes, good evening, Vacho. So we will continue the unit market failure, and as we have already discussed in previous session, you see, we have discussed there are these four reasons of market failure, right? And out of these reasons, we have discussed so far market power, that is monopoly power. It is also called monopoly power. And I have discussed it in detail. What is the meaning of monopoly power and how the monopoly power is calculated, is fined under monopoly or monopolistic competition, and while it is missing in perfect competition, right? And the other second, we have discussed incomplete information, right? These two topics we have discussed earlier. Now today we are going to continue these two topic of market failure. These are externalities and public goods. Now, right? So we are going to start with externalities and public goods. So let us start, students, with right. So what is market failure? Let us revise it in short. What is the market failure? Meaning we have learned that market failure means that the best attainable outcome has not occurred, right? What is the market's main objective? Main forces of market, these are demand and supply. Their objective is to determine the equilibrium price, equilibrium level, where both buyer and seller have the equilibrium, right? And when the best attainable outcome has not been attained, or you can say when resources are not efficiently allocated, distributed, utilized, that situation is known as a market failure. The phrase market failure is used in two somewhat different sense, right? These two senses: market failure of market system to achieve efficiency in allocation of society's scarce resources. We have already discussed in previous session, right? What we have discussed? We have discussed that in allocation of efficiency in allocation of society's scarce resources, right? Whenever the resources which are limited are not efficiently allocated in the society, that is market failure. And failure to serve the social goals other than efficiency. I have already told you one of the main objective of the any market system, any economic system, whether it is capitalist, socialist, right? So whenever the system is failed to achieve the social welfare or social goal or growth or welfare of the people of the society, then the market system is also known as a, yes. So we can say the misallocation of, yeah, inefficient use of resources leads to the market failure. Yes, Mohit, you are asking what is the difference between investment and savings. So savings are that part of your income which left out after consumption, right? Suppose you earn 1,000 rupees, out of that you spend 800 rupees, 200 is savings. But whenever you use that savings into any particular productive activity, right? Whenever you use those 200 rupees for any productive activity for business or for say you are buying the stocks or shares in the market, and there you will get the return, right? Or dividend or profit. So whenever the savings are used in any productive activity, in any income generated activity, that is called investment, right? Now let us move ahead. There are four main causes of market failure: monopoly power or inefficiency, asymmetric information, public goods, and externalities. Out of these four, we have already discussed in last session first two, asymmetric information and monopoly power. Now we are going to start with the externalities, right? First of all, what we should know the meaning of the externalities, right? What is the meaning of externalities? So an externality is said to occur when. What is the meaning of externalities? So saying that ki externalities is said to occur when actions by an individual, बहुत ध्यान से सुनना बच्चों, action by an individual or a firm produce benefits or cost that affect member of the society. Means कि whatever the action taken by any one person or any firm, right? And these that action of any single individual or firm affects the whole society. It affects the whole society. And how these action can affect the whole society either in a positive way or in a negative way, right? So if it benefits to the whole society, action by a single firm or a single individual person, if it benefit to the whole society, that is called positive externalities. And if it costs to the whole society, like we have discussed the example in the previous session also, whenever uh, entrepreneur or a firm started its factory near to any residential area, causing the air pollution, causing the water pollution, it will harm to the society. What is the meaning of cost here? Not only the cost means ki monetary term always, right? Cost means whatever the disadvantages, whatever the disadvantage or limit faced by the discomfort faced by the society. So if it is discomfortable disadvantages to the society, it is called negative externality. If it is benefit to the whole society, it is called positive externality. Is it clear, students? बच्चों समझ में आई ये बात कि नहीं? What is the meaning of externality? In simple words, I can say whenever the action taken by an individual, a single person, or by a firm, and that action taken by individual or a firm either benefit to the whole society or it disadvantages or create the discomfort to the whole society. These are called externalities, right? But आगे के next thing, but these cost and benefits are not taken into consideration by this firm or individual, but that particular firm doesn't take into consideration those disadvantage to the society or benefit to the society, right? They are taking up their actual cost, monetary cost, but they are spent on hiring and purchasing the factors of resources, right? So, is it clear, बच्चों? ये बात समझ में आ रही है? Yes, Ramchandra, we have discussed in last session, beta, ki in monopoly, you are asking under monopoly market, how come it leads to the market failure? Because under the monopoly, there is a single producer and multiple buyers. High price leads to the increase in national income, right? So, no, it will increase the national income. But what are we saying here? Market failure means what? I have already told you that market failure we will consider in two sense. But first one is when market system is failed to achieve the efficiency in allocation of society resources and other failure to serve the social goals. So national income is increasing. National income is increasing, no doubt, right? When the profit of any individual monopoly firm is, but you can say whether the distribution of national income is equal there. Ram, can you say ki in case of when there is a market system of monopoly kind, so no doubt the firm is earning profit, charging high price, it will increase the firm's profit, company's profit, and also national income. But whether the national income will be distributed equally among the society? No, only those monopolies will get the maximum part in the form of profit. And they will exploit the laborers. They will to reduce the cost of production, they will exploit the laborers by paying them less wages. So that will be that the market is not serving the social goals. Inequality of income and wealth will be increases. In that sense, we can say that is market failure because prices the firm will charge. We have discussed in last session whatever the prices monopoly firm will charge will be higher than its marginal cost. Right? Now see, so I think you all have a clear idea about the externalities. And now, as I said, key externalities can be beneficial or harmful depending upon whether it imposes benefit or cost on the member of society. For example, air, noise, water pollution are example of harmful or negative externalities. On the other side, if the firm starts large manufacturing unit in an economically backward region, right? If you say if firm started setting up their industries, their factories, their manufacturing units in any backward areas, backward region where there are lack of resources of employment. Now what happened? It will beneficial to the society because the local people will get the jobs there. It may generate beneficial or positive externalities for the society as a whole because the people living in those areas, nearby areas, will get the job in those factories, in those industries, right? So it is called positive externalities. So in this sense, externalities in maybe in both side, in production, in consumption also means externalities not only in the case of production, it may be in case of consumption also. How in consumption, sir? Let us take an example of negative externalities. May in say negative externalities in consumption example लेते हैं. For example, if there are two room partners, right? Room partners or roommates in a hostel or in a PG, right? In a PG, we can take PG. So in a PG, there are two room partners sharing a single room, right? And one of them is smoker. One partner is smoker. And the other partner is non-smoker. Now see, who is the smoker? First partner who is smoker will smoke in a room. Smoke in the room. Now it will be discomfortable to the non-smoker, right? Now the non-smoker says him smoke outside, right? He will suggest him smoke outside because I am getting problem. Now he can say the smoker when he say I am paying the half rent of the room. So why I go out? If you have problem, you can go out while I am smoking, right? Because he is saying I am paying the half rent, but he can also say I am also saying the half rent. So why I go out? So both are paying the, but due to his smoking habit, the either the non-smoker person will get the disadvantage because discomfort because either he have to be in room and to face the problem of the smoke, which is or he have to leave the room as many as time the other partner smokes in the room, right? So this is the negative externalities of consumption due to that person who is a smoker is satisfying his wants, right? The smoker person after smoking satisfied his wants, right? But the other person is getting disadvantage of that. That is an example of this negative externalities in consumption, right? So you can say externalities can be in case of both in production or in consumption, right? And there are two types of externalities in both cases, either positive externalities or negative externalities. Positive means beneficial to the whole society and negative means cost or discomfort, disadvantages faced by the whole society. Is it clear, students? यहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा है? Now, see, externality are also called third party effects. You can also, the other names of this externality can also be called the third party effects. Why it is called third party effects? As much as we have learned, can anyone explain why this is called third party effects? Or it is called spillover effects. Spillover means the effect which is spill over the whole society, the benefits which are spill over the whole society, the disadvantage which are uh, put on the whole society, right? But why this is called third party effect? Because why third party effects? Because the third party is who? The society. The society, है ना? Then one first and second parties are, sir, first and second parties are like we are saying in case of our room partner example, the two partners, right? The first person or second person. So third party, it means when a production unit we are saying, so government is getting the taxes, right? Producer is earning the profit, but the society is a here third party means which have no direct profit or concern with that organization, that company's profit or manufacturing, but still they are getting harms, right? So it is called third party effects or spillover effect because the देखो इसका reason भी दिया है because the cost and benefits of action of individual in a transaction spill over to the other members. Those other members of the society are taken here as a third party, right? The existence of externalities, whether positive or negative, right? Whenever there will be externalities, either it is positive or negative, cause inefficiencies in production. Sir, negative externalities तो समझ में आता है. It is clear that negative externality can cause a inefficiency, can cause an inefficiency because the society is suffering. How the positive externalities cause inefficiency? See, in case of positive externality, let us take an example that few persons whose incomes are in a taxable bracket, taxable income, they are paying taxes, and many other people who are living the below poverty line or whose income is very much low, that they are not covered under the tax paying bracket, say in less than 2,50,000 per annum, right? So they are not eligible, they are not liable to pay the tax, right? But they are getting the benefits of the whatever the roads and street lights and parks, all these public goods are provided by the government. From where? From the money paid by the taxpayer. But the benefits are getting the whole society, all those even who have not paid, right? But whether that benefit or cost can be shared with those people who are paying tax, no. They are equally liable to use the parks, to use the street light, to the roads as the non-taxpayer are enjoying. So what they are getting extra for paying the tax extra? Nothing. So there may be inefficiency ना कि पे मैं कर रहा हूँ, पे कुछ लोग कर रहे हैं, but benefit सब ले रहे हैं. तो जो tax pay कर रहे हैं, those who are paying taxes, they can have in their mind that we are paying taxes, so we should get the some extra benefit or some priorities. So that is inefficiency in allocation of resources also. And it may be in case of both consumptions as well as production, right? As they lead to non-optimum, because there will be non-optimal allocation of resources from the society's point of view. Listen, whenever we are talking about the externalities, we are talking from about the society's point of view. According to Katsonis, externalities create a divergence between private cost and social cost and benefits. Now, what is the meaning of private cost and social cost? See, private cost is that cost which incurred by an individual or a firm on the resources which it use. For example, when a firm starts factory, when a firm starts manufacturing unit, so whatever the cost of raw material, cost of labor, cost of electricity bills, all these are the private cost, right? And whenever an individual person like the smoker, he purchased cigarettes from the market, so it cost him, right? So that is his private cost, whatever he is paying, right? So on the resources, that is whatever they are spending on that particular individual person or firm. That is called private cost. Now, what is social cost, sir? These are the sum of social cost is the sum of private cost and external cost. Its formula is private cost plus external cost. It is called social cost. Now, what is external cost, sir? External cost is the cost which is incurred by the whole society. The external ones, the third party. You can say cost to third party. Cost to third party. Society. That is society here. Right? It may be in monetary terms or it may be in any other discomfort, disadvantage. For example, we can see it through the example in next slide. So what is the formula of social cost, bachcho? Social cost is the sum of private cost and external cost. What is the meaning of external cost? That is imposed on members of society because of the harmful action of individual or the firm. Right? Now see, we are taking here the example of a negative externalities. We are right. So, and with the help of diagram also, we can explain it with the help of diagram and taking example. So what the negative externality example we have taken here? We have taken here the example of producers case. So इधर हमने एक producer case का case लिया है, production का, in production, और positive में मैंने consumption का case लिया, so that you can understand in both production and consumption, right? So in production case, we have taken the example of negative externality. Suppose a large number of firms have industrial plants, right? Manufacturing chemical and dyes. So there are so many industries and firms are producing chemicals and dyes. The chemical waste, whatever the waste of the chemical and other harmful byproducts are dumped in the nearby river. Now what these factories do? These manufacturers dump or flow the all the waste in a nearby river. इससे क्या होगा? What happened? The manufacturer have no incentive to install a device or adopt mechanism that would stop the harmful effect of the hazardous chemical waste. By dumping these waste, listen very carefully, student. By dumping these waste direct to the nearby river, they are reducing their cost. What kind of cost, sir? Because they have to install any retreatment plant for these waste, where these waste material are retreated and will be recycled or will be retreated, and the very less harmful can be go through the rivers, right? Hazardous chemicals. So there should be any retreatment plants. They have to install there. And if they install these kind of retreatment plant, if they install the right. So what will happen there? So whenever if they install the retreatment plants, it will cost them highly, right? So to reduce their cost, they directly dump all the waste, chemical waste into the nearby river, right? So it will reduce their cost, but it will cost to the whole society. How it will cost to the society? Right? See, since there is no charge for dumping, because whenever they dump their chemical waste in the river, they do not have to pay any charges, right? Just they make some type of sources or pipes. Through these pipes, the whole waste gone to the rivers directly. So they will save their cost. The firms use the river as a dumping ground. So they are using it as a dumping ground. But how it will cost to the society? These chemicals and dye manufacturing firm will continue expanding output as long as their margin private cost is less. So whenever their costs are less, whenever their costs are less, they will produce more such type of production and more new factories will be because their profit is growing. But it will harm to the society. How, sir? See, in the river, the aquatic animal, first of all, the aquatic lives will be destroyed. And production of fishes will be go down. And the same river water when goes to the households. See, if we see 10 or 20 years back, right? So before 20 years, there were no such high prices of the water supply to their home. These bills are not so much high as at present they are, because at that time there was less cost to retreat the water, because when municipality tap water come to their home, it is treated in a very big plant and a water purifier plant by the municipality, and then this drinkable water reach to your home. So when these kind of firms, these kind of industries throwing the chemicals and chemical waste dumped to the river, the water quality will be get down, and the government has to install the such kind of large plants to make it drinkable. And this will cost to the government, and this cost will be shifted to the people by charging them the water bills, right? So it will indirectly cost to the society, na? Because the firms have reduced their cost by dumping freely to the rivers. But the whole effect in monetary term also goes to the society, because they have to pay the high water supply bills. Is it clear, student? Clear है बच्चों ये? Say this, sir, can we say private cost is equal to cost of production? Yes, absolutely. We can say private cost is a cost of production. Is it clear, bachcho? Now, what this diagram is showing, and how this part of the shaded portion is called dead weight welfare loss. What is the meaning of dead weight loss, sir? Dead weight welfare loss. अभी समझते हैं इसको. See, first of all, we will explain this diagram. Now, what this diagram says, its explanation you will get in the next slide. See, the market demand curve. All of you know कि the equilibrium point is where the market demand and market supply curve intersect each other. है ना? ये सबको पता है ना? Is it clear ना? कि and here we are talking about an individual product, say chemical and dyes की हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो that is an industry है कि individual. So where the market demand and supply curve of the chemicals and dyes intersect each other, are equate to each other, this is called equilibrium point. So here we have taken the market demand curve. This is the market demand curve, right? What is the meaning of, sir, PMB and SMB? PMB stands for private marginal benefit and social marginal benefit. So in case of negative externalities, we are talking here about the negative. This is the diagram of negative externalities, right? So in case of negative externalities, the private marginal benefit and social marginal benefit will be same, because it is the demand curve. So demand curve is downward sloping, and this is, आपको पता है, demand and supply curve में y axis for price and x axis for quantity same. So this is the demand curve. What the demand curve shows, why the demand curve is downward sloping, you know, because there is a inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. You can say operation of law of demand, right? Now, here, this is the market supply curve. S, market supply curve, right? In microeconomics, in foundation level, you have must learn that in perfect competition market where demand and supply are equate, the industry's supply curve, the firms, this is the firm now. So firm supply curve, its marginal cost curve. The firm's marginal cost curve is its supply curve, right? So this is the market supply curve of the industry of this firm. So this is we are taken as a supply curve. Now where the demand and supply are intersecting, this is the equilibrium point, and this should be this is the price, right? So this is the price and this is the quantity, equilibrium quantity demand. Is it clear बच्चे? Right? So अभी अगर हम देखें, so what is the initial price here? Now I will go but how this deadweight welfare loss आ गए, कहाँ से आ गया? So अभी हम discuss करेंगे. Initially you are taking the equilibrium point where market demand and market supply curve are intersecting. So this is the market supply curve. This is the market demand curve. Where these two are intersecting, this is equilibrium point, this is equilibrium price, that is P1, and this is equilibrium quantity, that is Q1. Right? अभी इसकी explanation देख लेते हैं. Is it clear or not? So supply curve is as demand curve. Because chemicals and dyes are competitively produced, market supply S is the sum of marginal cost curve of each manufacturer. Right? क्योंकि मैंने आपको बताया था कि, और ये आपने फाउंडेशन लेवल में पढ़ा होगा, you must have learned in a foundation level. This was the part of your economics, microeconomics syllabus part. कि whenever there is a perfect competitive market, we are taking it as a competitive market. देखो competitive producers हैं. So firms marginal cost curve is its supply curve. So whenever if there are 10 firms, 20 firms, 100 firms, so the sum of their marginal cost curve is become the market supply curve. That's why supply is equal to MC or PMC, private marginal cost. Now given the D and S, demand and supply curve, market price and output are P1 and Q1, which I have shown you in the previous slide. Now a typical chemical manufacturing firm takes this price OP1 and gives its marginal cost of production PMC, maximizing its profit by equating PMC by P. Now firm will try to equalize the price. Listen very carefully बच्चों. Firm's equilibrium level कहाँ होगा? Where the price is पर competition market ले रहे हैं हम. So competition market के अंदर आप देखते हो कि firm की marginal cost जब उसके price के equal हो जाए, so P1 and Q1, these are the quantity and price, right? But see, as these chemicals are being produced and the chemical waste are thrown to the river, then social marginal cost will rise ना. If see, marginal cost will be higher than the private marginal cost. ये ध्यान रखना, क्योंकि सोसाइटी पे जो कॉस्ट जा रही है वो फर्म की कॉस्ट से ज्यादा होगी. फर्म्स तो बस क्या पे कर रही है, जैसे इतनी क्वांटिटी फर्म ने प्रोड्यूस की, दिस मच क्वांटिटी हैव बीन प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय द फर्म इज पेइंग दिस मच कॉस्ट, बट द सोसाइटी इज पेइंग, सो बिकॉज एसएमसी क्या है, सोशल मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, और मैंने बताया था दिस इज द सम ऑफ प्राइवेट मार्जिनल कॉस्ट प्लस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट, है ना, एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट ऊपर बताया था मैंने प्रीवियस स्लाइड में. सो दिस इज द सम ऑफ बोथ, इसमें पीएमसी प्लस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट भी जुड़ गई. सो दोज बोथ कॉस्ट आर एडिंग, सो द एसएमसी कर्व इज अबव. नाउ सी व्हाट हैपेंड if the firm take this cost as much है, फर्म सोसाइटी को ये कॉस्ट लेनी चाहिए बिकॉज सोशल कॉस्ट भी आ रही है. लेकिन मैंने आपको क्या बताया था, इन केस ऑफ एक्सटर्नैलिटीज, द एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट and the external benefits, externalities are totally ignored. So firm will not take consideration that for this quantity producing total social marginal cost is this one. If they take it to, then price should be this one. Price यहाँ आना चाहिए, right? But no, they are not considering it because they are saying कि external cost society अपने आप भरेगी, वो अपने आप भरे, हमें क्या, हमारी marginal cost तो इतनी आ रही है, we are getting this much cost and getting this much price. So our marginal cost is covering up this price and by selling this much quantity, right? Market में demand क्या होगी? If you are, because listen very carefully student, if the firm will raise the price, what happens? If the firm will raise the price, the demand for the product will fall. Their demand of the product will fall. So firm will not take a risk to raise the price, including this cost of social cost also in the product's price. So firm is charging only their private marginal cost in a price. But actually speaking, practically देखें तो for this quantity, this much is a social cost. It means for this quantity Q1, this is the private cost and this vertical difference is a external cost. Adding this. Now, if we take into consideration marginal cost, social marginal cost, then it its new equilibrium should be there. It should be there. But what happened? When you take this price, you see the demand will fall and the quantity demanded will fall to Q1. And if it happens, you see this portion because consumer have to देखो दोनों को लॉस हो रहा है डेड वेट लॉस का मतलब क्या होता है व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ डेड वेट लॉस आई एम सेइंग द डेड वेट लॉस इज द लॉस which gone from the hand of the one person and do not get by the other person also मतलब अगर मुझे लॉस हुआ सोसाइटी में तो किसी और को फायदा हो जाए अगर तो वो डेड वेट लॉस नहीं है इफ आई हैव लॉस but any other one get the benefit this is not dead weight loss but if I have loss and other also not get the benefit of them of that amount then it is dead weight loss that loss which dead है ना for the whole society now what happened if अगर हम देखें so what is the total social marginal cost is this one so supply curve should be this one so on the basis of this the price should be this one if this price increase consumers will lower the demand so consumer has to pay the more prices so and seller will be able to sell less quantity so this much quantity and price this much gap can be the dead weight loss right yes Bhumika clearly both seller and buyer both are consumers are in loss that is called dead weight loss so how this dead weight loss is occurring here because as we take into consideration the marginal cost social marginal cost so new price will be high and as the price will be high the quantity will be less so the seller will be able to sell the less quantity they are also getting loss and buyers are those who are able to get this quantity they have to pay the more price right so that is the reason is it clear students यहाँ पे लिखा भी हुआ है so equilibrium price is P1 and quantity is OQ1 because chemical and dye production pollutes the river water it imposes the external cost on the member of society for society as a whole such production of chemical and dye is zero at zero the external cost है ना बिकॉज सोसाइटी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट वहां पे जीरो होगी अगर जीरो आउटपुट होगा तो है ना बट एज द आउटपुट इंक्रीजेस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट ऑफ पॉल्यूशन विल इंक्रीज सो व्हेन प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीजेस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट आल्सो इंक्रीजेस दिस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट इज गिवन बाय एमईसी नाउ वेयर इज एमईसी सर सो अगर आप बना मैंने इसलिए नहीं बनाया बिकॉज इट मे बी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड बट अगर आप बनाओ तो एमईसी जो कॉस्ट कर्व है वो यहाँ से अपवर्ड जाएगा है ना और हर लेवल पे जब आप इसको और इसको ऐड करोगे तो ये ऊपर आ जाएगी सोशल मार्जिन कॉस्ट राइट सो MEC कर्व ऑलवेज स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द ओरिजिन पॉइंट बिकॉज whenever there is zero output then external cost marginal external cost will be zero when no chemicals are being produced no waste are dumping to the river then there will be no external cost but as the output increases external costs are continuously increasing and whenever you add vertically these two lines you will get the higher line that is called social marginal cost is it clear students is it clear or not this is the difference right so if it is not clear I can draw it on the whiteboard also उस पे भी आप देख सकते हो but I think यहाँ पे clear हो गया होगा say yes or not so that I can move ahead right so in this way social cost जो हमने बनाया SMC curve this is the sum of marginal cost that is private marginal cost plus total marginal external cost Akash is saying price increases then external cost is decreases no who says प्राइस अगर इंक्रीज हो रहा है तो एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट नहीं डिक्रीज हो रही बेटा लिसन व्हाट हैपेंस सी कॉस्ट इसलिए नहीं डिक्रीज हो रही आकाश देखना बेटा ध्यान से. You are saying कि if price is increasing, marginal external cost is decreasing. No, external cost is not decreasing decrease in due to increase in price. External cost is decreasing as the quantity will decrease, output will decrease. क्यों? As the price will rise. See, when the price will rise, demand will fall, right? Demand will fall, and the firm has to produce less quantity. And when the firm will produce less quantity, so its external cost, which was earlier this one, now reduced to this one. So why the external cost is decreasing as the price increase? Because as the price increase, the quantity demanded will decrease, due to which firm has to produce less quantity, and due to less production, the external cost will reduce. Is it clear, Akash? Is the difference between P1 and P2 is external cost? No, Diksha. External cost is not the difference between this and this. I am taking drawing it on the whiteboard बेटा. देखो इसको ध्यान से समझना. Whiteboard पे एक बार समझा रहा हूँ मैं इसको. See, y-axis is the price axis. We are taking price here. X-axis is the quantity axis, right? See what we have taken here, the demand curve, which is downward sloping, right? And this demand curve is the benefit curve also, right? We have taken it private marginal benefit and social marginal benefit, both are same. Now, what we have taken here, the upward sloping supply curve, which is the sum of marginal cost curve of the society. Yes, Subhashri. Why there is no social cost in on P1 and Q1? This बताता हूँ मैं क्यों नहीं है वहां पे, वो भी बताया. See this one. So the supply curve, which is upward sloping, you know very well, in micro you have learned that supply curve is always upward sloping curve, right? Supply curve is always upward sloping. And what is this supply curve signifies? This supply curve is the sum of marginal cost of the firms, right? Okay, this is the demand curve we have taken, and this is the supply curve, that is private marginal cost, and this is the supply curve, right? Now, what is the equilibrium? This is the equilibrium where the market supply demand curve intersecting. This quantity is Q1 and the equilibrium price is P1. Now, listen very carefully. Beta. Now, what happened? What is the external cost, sir? The external cost is, I have told you, external cost is the cost which society bears, but the factory producer will not bear. Listen very carefully. The external cost is that cost which is incurred on the society, but firm will not bear it, right? So external cost is starting from the origin point, because at zero output, external cost will be zero. As the output increases, external cost increasing. So we have taken it as a straight line upward sloping this, right? So this is our external cost. Now on adding up both these costs, अगर मैं इनको जैसे this one is a quantity, so when we add this and this quantity, the social marginal cost will be obviously upper, इससे higher होगी, and the difference between these two costs will increases, in which PMC and SMC's different will increase now. This gap will increase because this, whatever the gap between SMC and these are EC, and EC is increasing with the increase in output. Right? Now see, you are asking, sir, why at Q1 and P1 the external cost is not taken? Because I have told you the market demand curve and market supply curve. And what is the supply curve? The supply curve is the sum of the marginal cost of the firm. That is private marginal cost. So firm will not take into consideration the external cost. मैंने बताया ना आपको कि firm bear नहीं करेगी external cost. So they will not add up it. They only see their marginal cost and their demand. It is so they will equate their prices with their private marginal cost. So where their private marginal cost is covering, they are charging that much price bus. Right? So this is the one. And what is the difference between them? See, listen carefully. बेटा आपने पूछा भी कि what is external cost? So external cost at each level is this vertical distance between the at each level. That, for example, Q1 is the level. So this is the private marginal cost. This is the social marginal cost, and the difference between them is the that gap is the external cost, which is same as the vertical distance between this, right? And if we take into this cost also, then equilibrium stands here, and at this price will increase. This will be the burden on the whole society, and the quantity will fall. This will be the burden on the producer because sale will less. So this is why. Akash is saying, sir, if the price increases, demand decreases, which leads to a decrease in external cost. So can we say that increases price, decrease the external cost? Indirectly, but ऐसा इसलिए नहीं हो रहा because you see when price increases, it is not the question of the increase in price, it is the question of decrease in demand beta and decrease in quantity produced. So why whenever the less quantity will be produced, so there will be less social cost, right? So indirectly it may be you can correlate it to the price, but it is not directly related to the price, right? इज इट क्लियर बच्चों, क्या ये समझ में आ गया अब आप लोगों को यहाँ पर? सो व्हाट इज द यू हैव आस्क्ड, आई थिंक किसने पूछा था, दीक्षा, इज इट क्लियर? The difference between P1 and P2 is not external cost. The external cost is the difference, vertical distance between at every level of output between the SMC and PMC. So what is the vertical difference between SMC and PMC? That vertical distance is called external cost. I think now it is clear. Okay. Yes, Diksha. External cost is different at different level of outputs, right? So it at this level of output, you can see the external cost is this gap. At this level of output, this is this. And as the output increases, this external cost will increase. Why this will increase? I have already told you कि जितना output बढ़ेगा, as much as output increases, they will dump more waste to the river and the more external cost will be there, right? So absolutely the external cost will be different at each different level of output. And not only this, you must also see as the level of output increases, that external cost is also increasing, but this vertical distance is increasing, right? I think now it is clear to all of you. So what it is saying, how the market failure is occurring, how the inefficiency is occurring here. The efficient output is the one where marginal benefit demand is equal to MSC, right? Where the marginal social cost is occurring. वो कह रहे ऐसे, right? Crystal clear, very good, thank you. Now see Diksha and all of you बच्चों कि what how this happened, why we have taken this point, but firm will take only this consideration. Why we are showing this point only? We are showing this point because if you see to the society's point of view, if you see to the society point of view, so it must cover the social marginal cost. So if we also cover the social marginal cost, then the demand and supply curve, new supply curve will intersect at this level. So price should be this, is not this, price is this, but price should be this much P2. But if the firm will charge as much higher price, its sale will be down from Q1 to Q2, right? So it is saying for the efficient output where market demand, marginal benefit demand curve is equal to the marginal social cost at E per point, then quantity will be Q2, equilibrium price will be P2. The competitive output was earlier output kitna tha competitive Q1, determined by the intersection of demand and supply curve. If the industry does not consider the external cost, there is overproduction of the chemical and dyes. That overproduction is Q1, which is greater than Q2. If the industry reduces its output from Q1 to Q2, the net social saving created would be equal to the difference between total social cost producing Q2. So means कि अगर ये प्राइस बढ़ जाता है, आउटपुट कम होता है, तो एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट सोसाइटी पे कम आएगी, बट फर्म विल नॉट कंसीडर इट बिकॉज फर्म नॉट हैव टू पे फ्रॉम इट्स पॉकेट. तो व्हाई फर्म विल टेक टेंशन, व्हाई will they take the load, right? So they will just charge P1 price and producing Q1 quantity, and that Q1 quantity from the society point of view is the overproduction, and the more burden of external cost is lying on the society. I think it is clear with you. Now we will understand now the example of positive externalities. Now see what is positive externalities. So where the action of an individual or a firm favorable influence on welfare of the other members of the society, right? If the action taken by any individual or a firm have an favorable effect, positive effect, right? So if positively affect to the society, they generate external benefits, right? So in book bache, this is I can show you. Let us see bache ki in book you are asking where it is. So this is this paragraph you will get in the portion of externalities, right? मैं बता देता हूँ. Chapter 2, Unit 2, externalities. When you see these are the externalities, so it will be on page number. This is the para 2.3.2 beta. Krishna, 2.3.2 on page number 2.25. यहाँ से start हो रहा है externalities now, meaning उसके बाद यहाँ पर आपका आएगा ये रहा negative production externalities, this one, right? This positive, both are, you know, this is the social cost is equal to private plus external cost, right? And this is the diagram which have been shown here in book. So you can see in book it is at starting from 2.25 page. Now see positive externalities. So we can say when any action taken by taken by any individual or firm which have the positive effect, which have the favorable effect to the whole society, that is called positive externalities. Now, sir, whether the positive externalities also create inefficiency. Yes, positive externalities also result in output inefficiency to little production, because here also the production will be less, because in case of negative externalities there is a overproduction. In negative externalities there was a case of overproduction, na? But in positive externalities there will be lesser production, so it will be less production. See how. Let us take an example of private firms, right? Now see the private firms setting up private schools. Private firms are setting up private schools in economically backward region. Means the private firms are taking the decision in backward areas they will set up their schools, right? Where there are no public schools nearby. So they are setting up their school. By setting up the school, not only increase the skills and productivity of the students, children, children will get the better education there. They will enhance their skills. They will enhance their productivity, and they will be able to get the better jobs in future and more earning capacity to their family. But also creates informed and aware citizen. है ना? But whenever the new generation, the children today will get the better education, so the coming generation will be more aware, right? And more literate population. Now, the competitive, in that case, the competitive demand and supply curve of school are D and S. See, this is the demand curve, which is taken as a private marginal benefit and social marginal benefit, this. And this is the supply curve, which is private marginal cost, right? But in this case, the social marginal cost will be less. यहाँ पर समझो इस बात को, जो वहां पर सोशल मार्जिनल कॉस्ट ऊपर थी, वहां पर क्या था? पीएमसी, प्राइवेट मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, और उसके साथ एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट भी लग रही थी. यहाँ एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट नहीं मिल रही. यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि जब स्कूल बन रहे हैं तो उसकी कॉस्ट कम हो रही है ना, क्योंकि लोगों को बेनिफिट मिल रहा है डोर स्टेप पे, तो वो मार्जिनल कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगी, राइट? सी, तो इन दैट केस व्हाट इज द फॉर्मूला हियर? In last, you have seen private marginal cost. In negative externalities, you have seen private marginal cost is the sum of social marginal cost plus external cost, है ना? But यहाँ पर जो external cost है वो minus हो जाएगी, because the society do not have to pay for that, but the benefit they are getting, so that is negative, right? See, so here you can see कि social marginal cost जो है, here this social marginal cost is private marginal cost minus external cost. ये उसका उल्टा हो गया, यहाँ पे माइनस आता है, उसमें प्लस आता है. So this is the private marginal cost curve, that is supply curve, right? This is supply curve and this is demand curve. So what is the equilibrium point, बच्चों? This is the equilibrium point where the price is P1 and quantity supplied is this one. This is the free market price. The free market price will be set up where equilibrium price is P1, which is higher, right? And quantity supplied means what is the meaning of quantity here, bachcho? The quantity here means the to how many students, because we have taken the example of service provided, na? Service provided by. So whenever the school is providing services, charging this much fees, this much high fees from those students, then what will be the example? The quantity, the number of students to whom they are supplying, they are providing education at equilibrium point is this much, right? Now, but the social marginal cost is this. So from the society point of view, the equilibrium should be this one. At this, price should be lower and quantity should be this. Yani more students can be supplied education if the firm will reduce the price. But why firm will reduce the price? The firm will charge the price to their equivalent marginal cost. So due to which these much students, those who can get more student can get the education, they get be educated, they can increase their skillness. But they will be deprived from such facilities because of price being high. So this portion is also dead weight welfare loss. So here in case of positive externalities, the actual output is lower than what the society's point of view the production should be. So there will be a lower production in case of positive externalities, and in case of negative externalities there will be overproduction, right? So this is the case. So this has been explained here. Private organization will choose to set up the output at Q1 because their equilibrium point is here at Q1, right? Where market supply curves are intersecting, right? But setting up schools not only benefit to student, they also benefit society as whole. The society gets well informed, educated, skilled, literate manpower. The marginal external benefit. So here cost नहीं यहाँ पे जो cost negative हम कर रहे हैं that becomes the benefit, right? So here we can say D plus MED, that will be marginal social benefit, right? So the equilibrium point will be at, from the society point of view, it should be this one, right? So at this one, the prices of the education the schools are provided should be lower, and the quantity to more students the societies to the education to be provided. So the competitive number of schools is too low because the private organization bear all the cost while other members of society reap part of benefit. So the social benefit can be reaped if number of schools increase from Q1 to Q2. But as these are less, so the society is get the right resources not efficiently divided, right? So this was the case of the externalities, and we have seen how the externalities, whether it is a positive externalities or it is a negative externalities, how these externalities are also cause of the market failure. Is it clear, Vacham? And this one of the asymmetric information and market failure we have already discussed in the previous session. Now we are going to the last cause of market failure, that is public goods. All these moral hazard, all these we have discussed, right? Now we are going to discuss here public goods and market failure. First of all, we have to know the meaning of what is public failure, right? Sorry, public goods. What is the meaning of public goods? Sorry. Public goods are another example of market failure because they defy the tenets of supply and demand that derive the free markets. What is the meaning of tenets? Tenets means what is the free flow, or you can say tendency. What is the tendency of free market forces of demand and supply? They automatically be in equilibrium where whatever uh, at the equilibrium price buyers are ready to buy, the same amount seller are ready to sell, right? ये क्या करता है? Due to the public goods, this phenomena of free market forces demand and supply will defy, right? Public goods and services are non-excludable. See, there are mainly some features of public goods. What are these features? These two features are main. First one is non-excludable and also non-rival. Now, what is the meaning of non-excludable and what is the meaning of non-rival? पहले इसको समझते हैं. Non-excludable means one something like a street light, right? Street light is produced, it is accessible to anyone. मैंने बताया आपको कि whenever in the evening street lights light up, है ना, in your streets the lights light up, it will give the light to everyone, na? Whether they are paying the taxes or not. So no one can be excludable, and the producers cannot limit consumption only to paying the consumer. You cannot say the street lights will come will be used by only those who are paying for them, yeah, those who are paying the taxes. No, everyone. So no one can be excluded by. What is the meaning of non-excludable? The non-excludable means that no one can be no one can be excluded to consume them, whether they are paying for them or not paying for them, whether they are paying taxes or not. And the other one is public goods are also non-rival. Non-rival means as used by one person does not limit the consumption by other person. If one person is, for example, if I have my personal loan, right, and in that personal loan I have put some swings, झूले मैंने लगा. Now whatever I only me and my family, yeah, to whom I will allow, only those persons can enjoy those, है ना? No person other than my family or to whom I permitted can enjoy the benefit of the rights of these swings. But if these are the public grounds, public park, where the concept of open gyms the government had started. Let us take the example of gyms, right? For example, you join a gym. Whenever you join a gym, you will have, but in case of open gym, you have all seen in your surroundings in the public parks, the government are have formed the open gym system in a public park. So in those cases of open gym, nobody is paying for them, and when one person is consuming then you cannot stop the other person to consume them. Everyone can. So it is there is no rivalry. Rivalry means there is no competition among the consumers. Ki if I have taken it, then other will not take. But in case of private goods, it happens, right? If there is a some इन अ जिम देयर आर स्लॉट सिंपल स्लॉट्स हैं उनके पास मशीन्स हैं और उतने ही जा सकते हैं. अब मान लो फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व बेसिस I have took the admission and other one took the admission and the same time slot there is no space, no machine is vacant, so they will told you that any other time slot you can take. But in public park it's not happen, no? In public parks just you wait that one person leave that equipment, then you get. So there is no competition, no rivals. So given these characteristics, the private sector has little incentive to produce public goods. So whenever there is a concern about the public good to make the street light, to make the open gym in public parks, private companies will not come ahead to make these because there is no chance of getting profit. So which leads to market failure. And the government usually has to provide these goods and subsidize their production. So government has to give the subsidies, give the budget over these goods, and all persons enjoy them, whether they are paying taxes or not paying the taxes. Right? Now see in detail the meaning of non-rivalry. What is the meaning? A rival good क्या होती है? A rival good is that good which when one unit is consumed by an individual, that very unit, so same unit cannot be consumed by another. Right? For example, वो मैंने बताया आपको कि if you book a seat, simple सी बात है, if you book a seat in a cinema hall, you have paid for that, है ना? So no one can get that seat, na? Suppose by any mishappening or anything, at the end moment, you were not able to go to the theater and your seat is vacant. You're not able to reach there due to any reason. Then that seat, because you have paid for that, they will not offer at the end time to the other person. Because, for example, if after half an hour you reach there with your ticket, then right. So what is the meaning of rival good? The rival good means those goods which if one unit of them is consumed by an individual, then the same unit cannot be consumed by another one. Right? And the best example for that is in a theater, you book a ticket for movie. Right? Then that ticket, either you will resell it. If you are not going, then you can resell it. That is a different matter. But you have booked the ticket in a theater for a movie, and you were at the end time you are not able to go there. Then that seat will be vacant. right? Because you have pay for that, right? So two consumers cannot consume the same pack of commodities simultaneously. Consumption by one individual excludes other to consume it. These are called rival goods, sorry. Rival goods cannot be public. So public goods को आप rival goods नहीं बना सकते, because public goods means everyone can enjoy the benefits, can get the benefit of them. So rival goods cannot be public goods. They are private goods. So rival goods are always private goods. Public goods are non-rival in consumption. In case of non-rival goods, consumption by one individual does not reduce the consumption by other. And that happens. And many times you have seen there is a fight, there is a quarrel, झगड़ा हो जाता है, लड़ाई हो जाती है पार्क्स में सीट्स को लेकर या खेलने को लेकर, राइट? कई बार हो जाता है. Why? Because all have equal rights. You cannot stop anyone by consuming it, right? So these are the non-rivalry. Second one is public goods are always non-excludable. The characteristic of non-excludability relates with the distribution of consumption benefits. You cannot stop anyone by consuming. In case of private goods such as cars, shirts, I've also given you the example of the my personal loan, है ना? So similarly, if you have purchased a car, you have a shirt. Those who do not pay for them can be easily deprived from consuming them, right? Because of the producers, simple सी चीज है. For example, I go to the many times you have seen you go to the showroom or shop and a shirt you have selected, you see, and आपको बहुत पसंद आई and there was only one single piece left there and someone have already paid for that. The shirt is there, but someone has paid for is going to has gone to billing for it, right? In that case, and that was the last shirt. Now the shopkeeper, salesman will not be able to give you that shirt if you are saying, yeah, I'm paying higher price for them, because the already the buyer have paid for it, right? So that is excludable. So private goods are excludable, right? But the public goods are non-excludable. Simply does not provide them these goods if they have not paid for their price. On the other hand, in case of public goods, either it is possible or it is very costly to prevent from consuming those people who do not pay for these goods. Either आप रोक ही नहीं सकते, you cannot prevent them, or if you want to prevent them, then it will may have a much cost, because you have to make the provisions for that. The government has to make the provisions for that. बुक में कौन से पेज पे है बेटा, ढूंढोगे तो मिल जाएगा, टॉपिक नेम से मिल जाएगा आपको. These are the public goods. 2.4 पैराग्राफ है and page number is 2.31. You have to look for na. So public goods 2.4 paragraph and page number 2.31. Right. So the main features of these are characteristics of public goods बताया, non excludability, non rivalry. ये लिखा है ना यहाँ पर, देखो इस टेबल से भी आपको क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ पब्लिक गुड्स में आपको पता चल जाएगा. राइवलरी एंड एक्सक्लूडेबल जो गुड्स होंगी वो प्राइवेट गुड्स होंगी हमेशा, बिकॉज आई हैव टोल्ड यू प्राइवेट गुड्स आर राइवल एंड एक्सक्लूडेबल. इफ इट इज अ राइवल गुड्स but non-excludable, rival but non-excludable, so these are called common resources such as fish stocks, forest resources, coal. So these are rivalrous क्यों? Because they have a limited stock, right? But non-excludable भी है क्योंकि आप किसी को रोक नहीं सकते हैं, इसके लिए मना नहीं कर सकते हैं, but they have a limited stock. So whenever there is a limited stock, so there will be competition for them. And non-rivalry but excludable. So these are club goods, cinemas, private. But I was talking there. I was talking here about the cinema halls. So that cinema hall is non-rivalrous because everyone can buy the ticket, can book the ticket, book the seat. But excludable because what seat I have booked, no other one can have for the same show at the same time can have this, but so it is excludable. Non-rival, non-excludable, non-rival, non-excludable. These are called pure public goods, such as national defense, army, right? So in case of army, these are non-rivalrous because whatever the army is providing services, security to the whole country, not to the individual, and non-excludable. But because what the armed forces are doing, they are doing for everyone. They are providing security to every one of us, right? So these are called this. So there are four categories, right? So you can say the first category, category A, which is rivalrous and excludable. It is purely private good, right? And rivalrous but non-excludable, these are common resources. Non-rivalrous but excludable, these are cinema halls or public these. And what which is pure public goods are both non-rivalrous and non-excludable. Is it clear, students? Say, is it clear or not? Right? So these are. And there are some goods which are called quasi-public goods, mixed goods. There are some goods which are called quasi-public goods or mixed good. We are discussing it also. See. So let us see how the public goods leads to the market failure. Now see how the public goods leads to the market failure. Generally, perfectly competitive markets ensures Pareto optimality or economic efficiency. What is Pareto optimality? Boy, same thing. The Pareto optimality is said to be where both buyer and seller get the maximum benefits, where there is no what we say deadweight loss, where there is no deadweight loss, both buyer and seller are get the benefit, right? That is called Pareto optimality or economic efficiency. Under some circumstances, the market system cannot lead to this optimum situation of Pareto efficiency, that is state of maximum social welfare. In many situations, that maximum social welfare is not attained. This situation where market fails to achieve economic efficiency is called market failure. और इसके causes में अगर हम बात करें तो क्या होता है? Main causes existence of monopoly or imperfect competition, presence of externalities and consumption of public goods, right? Now see how the public goods, because these monopoly power and market and externalities we have discussed so far. Now we are going to discuss how public goods cause the market failure. Although they are socially valuable, public goods are socially valuable because they are providing the society the values. What value? Because they are getting benefit, but they are not supplied at by private sector and they are not individually charged by private sector. Government is providing them. These are valuable but not provided by the private sector. So there arise a problem of free rider problem. What the market failure arises due to public goods is called free riders problem. Now what is free rider problem? The property of non-excludability. We have seen there are two main features of pure public goods, and these two features of pure public goods are one is non-excludability of public goods. Means in case of public goods you cannot exclude anyone by using them. Often leads to market failure. How? This property arises because producers are not able to prevent. Who is producer here, beta? बताओ मुझे. In case of public goods, who is producer? Either the private firms are producer here or the government is producer. It is saying this property of non-excludability of the public goods, the producers are not able to prevent. Who is producer here? Private firms or government? Yes, obviously the governments are, because public goods we have discussed so far, public goods are not provided by the private sector. Yes. So these are, the producer is government. So this property arises because the producer means government not able to prevent those from consuming the commodity who have not contributed in the cost of production of that commodity. This is what known as a free riders problem. इसी को हम free riders problem बोलते हैं. The problem, what this problem actually says, the problem states that because people cannot be excluded, because you cannot stop anyone, you cannot exclude anyone from consuming public goods, there is incentives for persons in these situation to free ride. Incentives means benefit. So there will be benefit for those people who are not paying for them, who are not paying the taxes, but they are enjoying the benefits. They are trying to enjoy the benefit from those public goods without paying for them. Due to free riders problem, the producer of public commodity will either not produce it. If you say private firm, if you say private firm, so private firm will not take interest, or प्रोड्यूस टू लिटल फॉर इट, या फिर बहुत कम प्रोड्यूस करेंगे. आपने देखा होगा कि मेनली जो पब्लिक गुड्स होती हैं, धीरे धीरे whenever the city or developed better, then these increase, but initially whenever a new city formed or new place, then that case there are few parks, there are few all weather roads, है ना. So either it will, or very you can see ki there are so many years it taken to all weather connectivity of roads in a particular society, in a particular community, right? Or it creates economic inefficiency of Pareto non-optimal. Now see, मैं इसको और अच्छे से बताता हूँ कि सर इसमें क्या हो गया. जब फ्री राइडर प्रॉब्लम है तो ये प्रॉब्लम कहाँ है, ये तो फायदा है, बिकॉज दोज आर ऑल्सो getting the benefits who are not able to pay, right? Those who are not able to pay, they are getting the benefit. Absolutely right, they are getting the benefit, no problem. But problem arises. Have you seen in the public parks what the people do there? Have you seen in the public park the people sitting there and the wrappers of their chips or biscuits or whatever they are eating, or you know, cold drinks, they throw it anywhere in the park. They do not bother to put it into the dustbins. होता है या नहीं होता है सर? In public places, in public goods, they are not bothered for them because they have not pay for them. So what will be the inconvenience to the others? Because some people, after enjoying the public picnic there, they went to their home, littering the garbage there, and when the other person came to the park, they will not get the enjoy of that cleanliness that should they. Yes, they do not care about the public things, right? In case of street lights, say the example. So people, even in the case of public goods, they, whenever they get the anger with government, they just start to destroy the public goods. Huh? They get through the fire to the public buses, public transport. And why? Because they do not have pay for them. Na? So उनको कोई नुकसान नहीं हो रहा. But the actual loss will be to those persons who are paying for the taxes, who are paying the taxes, and from their tax money, the government is providing these parks. And whenever those people go to these parks for their morning walk or evening walk, and they see there is a garbage there, there is open gyms, but the equipments are broken there, टूटे हुए हैं. So they will not get the benefit, those who are actually paying the taxes. That is called inefficiency or Pareto optimality. Is it clear or not, beta? So free riders, why this free rider is called problem? This free rider is become the problem because those who are not paying for them, they obviously do not care for them. They will not care for them. They will misusing them, right? They will not bother. Even you put the in a public park, you put, there are so many dustbins, but no one get the bother to put it in the dustbin. But if you go to the anywhere amusement parks where you buy the tickets, in amusement park you go and where you have to buy the tickets 500 rupees, 700 rupees, right? So वहां पर आप नहीं करोगे, वहां पे वहां स्टिकनेस भी होगी, वहां पर आप इधर उधर फेंकोगे तो देयर विल बी स्टिकनेस और देयर विल बी फाइन, राइट? इन दोस केसेस. So this is the free rider problem and how this free rider problem create the problem for the society as a whole. So in chapter 2, unit 1, unit 2, sorry, chapter 2, unit 2, we have completed here. That is market failure. And now we will start our next unit of chapter 2, third unit, right? And we will start it after taking 10 minutes break because the new unit will be in continuation, right? So let us take here the break of for the 10 minutes, students, right? So welcome back, student. And now we are going to start unit third of chapter 2, that is government intervention to correct market failure. Right? So, so far we have learnt about the market failure. What is the meaning of market failure? Right? And you can see in chapter 2, unit 1, we have learnt about the fiscal policy overview, right? What is the main functions of the government? So we have learned in chapter 2, unit 2, we have learned about the market failure, right? And now we are going to discuss about the role of the government intervention, or you can say the role of the government to resolve, to correct the market failure, right? So we have seen why market failure arises. So four main reasons: externalities, market power or monopoly power, right? Asymmetric information, public goods, right? But how the government intervention to correct this? So obviously it is very simple. It is but obvious कि whatever the problem, what are the causes of the market failure, whenever the government intervene to correct the market failure, so government will try to minimize all these things, all these reasons, causes due to which the market inefficiency or market failure arises. So you can see in the unit overview that public finance, what is the role of government? Government intervention to correct the market failure. And how the government will correct this market failure? First, to minimize the market power, to minimize the monopoly power. Second, to correct the externalities. How these externalities can be corrected? Let us take a very simple example. आगे हम पढ़ेंगे, but यहाँ पर मैं एक सिंपल सी बात बताता हूँ. How in your mind it will be, how these externalities can be corrected. Let us take the example of our industry in the last unit which we have taken, that whenever the chemical and dye making industries simply throw their chemical waste in the rivers, right? So there the government can penalize them. The government can put the penalty on such kind of industries. They can send them challan for that, right? So these are the measures to correct the externalities. For a case of negative externalities, the government can put these. The government even can charge the challan or penalty to the person smoking in public places, right? So the government चाहे तो इन externalities को कम कर सकती है. How? For the negative externalities, by putting the challan over them, and for positive externalities by incentives, by giving them incentives, right? The next one is merit and demerit goods, right? So government should uh, classify what are merit goods, demerit goods. And third one is correcting the information failure, asymmetric information. So how the asymmetric information can be avoided? Let us take another simple example. As we have discussed in the last session, in the previous session, that sometime there is a less information, or information is hide by the consumers, say policy taker, insurance policy, in case of insurance policy or medical insurance policy. So there the government or the regulatory authority, like in case of insurance in India, the regulatory authority is IRDA, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So IRDAI is the regulatory body. So here the government IRDA make it compulsory for the companies by giving the policies that the medical test and medical test by their prescribed uh, panel hospitals in their panel, right? So these kind of rules, these kind of regulations made by the government or the regulatory authorities can correct even the uh, information failure also. And finally, equitable distribution. The government should try to distribute the resources factors in equally, है ना? And where there is unequal distribution of income, the government can correct these by fiscal policy we have discussed, by putting the higher taxes on the rich person and providing more subsidies and social benefits to the poor person, right? So जो भी मैंने आपको बताया देखो ये लिखा है in previous unit we have seen that under a variety of circumstances there is a market failure, and these are the four types causes of market failure, whether it is externalities, whether it is monopoly power, whether it is public goods, whether it is asymmetric information. Now this becomes very important for the government. As such, it should be constructed that the existence of free market does not altogether eliminate the need of the government. You cannot say if there is a free market forces of demand and supply, or there is a free market structure, so there is no need of the government. No. Sometimes in a free market economy, in a capitalist economy also, there is intervention of government becomes essential. And when this intervention of the government become essential, when there is unequal distribution, when there is market failure is at the extreme point, or when the market failure or there is inefficiency at a very large scale, at a very extreme point. The focus of this unit will be on the mechanism ki how the government will intervene. So government plays a vital role, very important role in creating necessary physical and institutional infrastructure in which fair and open competitions can exist in the market. Whenever government feels that the competition is not fair, whenever government feels that competition is not open, unfair competition, the government will intervene. And how the government will intervene? The government will make the rules, will penalize, will put the penalties on the persons breaking laws, or you know, putting the negative externalities on the society. The physical infrastructure. Now, here it is talk about physical infrastructure and institutional. What is the meaning of physical infrastructure? Those infrastructure which can be seen, which can be felt, like road, bridges, airports, waterways, are often provided by the government. These are provided by the government. So government will try to make the all-weather connectivity of roads. As in India, you can see the construction of highway road is very impressive, right? You can say the work of the government being done on the making the highway roads to connecting the all region states is a very impressive the government is doing, right? So the government provide institutional infrastructure also, name legal, say legal facilities, courts, you know, regulatory framework, like for to control the banking, there is a RBI, banking and financial institution. To control the stock exchange market and the interest of the investor, there is a SEBI. To control the insurance sector, the regulatory authority IRDI. To control the telecom sector, right? TRAI, that is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So these are the regulatory framework is essential for the well functioning of the market. It is indispensable that the government establish rule of law, and in this process creates their government makes some rules, and it in this process create protect property right and ensures that contracts are upheld and set up necessary institutions for the proper functioning of the market, right? So see how the government make it possible to uh, get get rid of the market failure, right? So we have seen in the previous unit that major reasons for market failure are already discussed many times, market power, externalities, public goods, incomplete or asymmetric information. Right? So अब हम डिटेल में चलते हैं, तो let us take a short glimpse of how the government intervene. So there are two major sources of government intervention. First one is direct intervention or second one is indirect intervention. As the name suggests, how the direct intervention goes. In direct intervention, how the government intervene as supplier of public goods. Means the government can say the public goods will supply by the government. The government will not going to allowed or permitting or giving license to the private sector or to for these. The government has took the control over them. For example, in case of railway, I have already discussed you railway. Indian railway is the cheapest mode for the long-term journey in India, right? Every person living even below poverty line is for them this is affordable uh, mean of transportation. So the government knows the importance of that transportation, so that's why the government has keep control sole monopoly over the Indian railway, and not uh, till till present it is not, government has not privatized it, and government has no any mood to privatize it in near future also, right? Some people are making rumors that government is selling the railway, but the government has made it very much clear many times that they have no mood to privatize the railway, right? Because the government knows that is a very cheapest mode of transportation for the poor people also for the long term. So in many cases, whether it is a water supply, whether it is electricity supply, the government in those cases taking the direct action, keep the whole supply under its control for the public goods and information. Second one, as buyer and procurement. As a buyer कैसे, ये तो as a supplier हो गया. Supplier of what? Supplier of public goods. Supplier of, right? Supplier of information. And as a buyer कैसे? For example, you can see you have listened the word MSP. Now, who can tell the full form of MSP? इस पे अभी अर्लियर लास्ट में एग्रीकल्चर बिल्स भी आए थे विच द गवर्नमेंट ड्यू टू द ऑपोजिशन बाय द farmers, the government rolled back their three bills of agriculture they passed. So that was based on for the MSPs. What is the meaning of MSP? Full form of MSP. Can anyone tell? No. So that MSP is basically, yes, Prajwal, minimum support price. Very good. Keshav, minimum support price. Good, very good. So that is minimum support price. And these minimum support price, that minimum support price is given by government to the farmers. Now there the government becomes the buyer for the procurement, for the purchasing, for buying their crops at that minimum price. Means government providing them the guaranteed price to the farmers, they will get that minimum price for their particular crops, and they need not to sell their crops lower than that price to the merchants, to the intermediaries, right? So their government also become for the come forward for the benefit of the producers, also for the benefit of the farmers, also agriculturists also, right? In these cases, good. So their government plays the role of buyer. And how the indirect intervention is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, how? Taxes and subsidy to alter the cost, right? So to reduce the inequality. I have already discussed. We have already discussed in previous session also. The government will put the more taxes on the luxurious goods, on the rich persons, and providing subsidies to the poor people, to the necessary goods, right? And other one is regulation and influence. The government can appoint the regulatory bodies. Indirectly हो गया ना, क्योंकि banking sector पे all banks will function but under the regulation of RBI. So there is a regulations, their influence, right? So the agencies, whether private or public, they have to work under the regulation of that authority. So you can say how the government intervene. So you can say the government intervention here to correct the market failure, to reduce the market failure, to prevent the market failure. How? In two cases, in two types, direct and indirect. In direct way, the government becomes supplier, provider of the public goods information, and on the other side also government plays the role of a direct buyer or procurement, है ना, for the purchasing of the necessary goods, where the government feels if these are uh, open to the private intermediaries or merchants, they will charge their, they will make their profit, huge profit, right? So government purchase it at and provide these crops at the time of the shortage of these, right? And indirectly by the fiscal policy, taxes and subsidy, and regulation and influence. Now let us see these in detail. First one is government intervention to minimize market power. See how the market power can be minimized. So as we aware, market power exercise either by seller or buyer as is an important factor that contribute inefficiency because it result in higher prices than competitive prices. We have already discussed about it in the previous session, बच्चों. What is market power? What is monopoly power? Market power or monopoly power is the same thing. So what was the formula I have told you in the last session? Can anyone tell? What was the formula I have given you? I have told you formula of monopoly power or market power. याद है किसी को? MP market power is equal to क्या बताया था मैंने? Monopoly power is equal to याद है किसी को? नहीं. Yes. Sayyid is saying P minus MC. Very good. Price minus market marginal cost, right? So I have told you whatever the monopolist or monopolistic competition firm charging price higher than marginal cost, that is called monopoly power. And that price will be always greater than the competitive prices, right? Perfect competition, price under perfect competition. And that gap is called monopoly power or market power. So how the government can reduce this? The government can reduce this when government make a price ceiling. Government can make a price ceiling. Ki no one can charge the price highest than that. Maximum price ceiling, right? So in addition, market power also tends to restrict output, where government restrict output and to leads and to reduce the deadweight loss. So because of social cost imposed by a monopoly, government intervene by establishing rules and regulation to design this, right? For example, in India, we have a Competition Act. I have already told you in India at present, there is a Competition Act 2002 with Competition Amendment Act 2007. What is the role of this act? What is the role of laws or section given under this act? To promote and sustain competition in the market, to promote the fair market competition, fair competition in the market. What is fair competition means? The competition firms will compete with each other, but without defaming the other firms, right? Without exploiting the market or consumers. The antitrust laws in ये तो हो गया इंडिया में, तो इंडिया में जो लॉ है इसके लिए that is known as a Competition Act 2002 and after amendment Competition Amendment Act 2007. And in US there are antitrust laws, and UK these are called Competition Act 1998. In UK it is also known as similar in India, Competition Act, but in US it is called antitrust law, and designed to promote competitive economy by prohibiting. And what they law do, these laws prohibit, restricted the action they are likely to restrain competition. Wherever the government feels that the competition is restrained, the competition is right? So not open, the competition is not open, not fair. Such legislation, such laws generally aim to prohibiting contracts, combination, collusion among the producer. You have learned in oligopoly market, where there is a collusive oligopoly. Have you listened about this, student? What is collusive oligopoly? Right? So in case of collusive oligopoly, you know when there are few firms and these few firms collide to each other, they decide that what the same price they will charge and how much quantity they will each sell. Even they many times they divide the market among themselves so that they can charge the same higher prices from the consumer. And whenever all the firms are charging same price, providing same quantity, the consumer will have no choice and they have to buy these, right? So I think this term you have listened about this collusive oligopoly. There are two types, collusive and non-collusive, right? So many times few firms make such kinds of contract, combination, collusions just to maximize their profit, right? And a very real life example I can tell you what happened. Real life example I can whether you have listened or not about this OPEC. Have you listened about the oligopoly, collusive oligopoly in international market name as a OPEC? सुना है किसी ने about OPEC? बताता हूँ. Yes or no? So international market में in global economy, international level, OPEC, OPEC, the full form of which was Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, right? So it was formed in 1970s में ये form हुआ था 72 73 में, right? And there were 11 member countries थी इनमें, 11 member countries. And these 11 member countries were supplying to the whole world the petroleum of 70 to 80% supply they hold. Right at that time when this OPEC was formed. Why this OPEC was formed? The main motive was to maximize their collective profit. Whose collective profit? These 11 member countries. And these member countries were not a small kind of countries. These were the largest supplier of the petroleum to the world. क्या बताया मैंने? 70 to 80% of the petroleum supply to the whole world was supplied by these 11 members. And these 11 members shake their hands. They join together. they make an agreement, not contract, because that was not legal, right? So they became an, you can say, informal. They create an informal contract, or can say agreement. है ना? In law, you have written in agreement, which is agreement are those which are not contract because they have no legal binding, legal enforcement. So what happened after creating OPEC? When the OPEC created, these member countries decided that they will charge the higher prices, and all one charge the same price. And even prices, why the buyer will ready to pay such a high price? Because you see petroleum is have a less supply, inelastic supply, and there is a huge demand all over the world for the petroleum, and these are the largest petroleum supplier exporter in the world. So they also restricted their supply also, and they decided that each the member country will supply 50% of their total capacity of supply of petroleum, 50%, so that there will be created shortage in the market, and the price, they will raise the price. And you can imagine how much prices were increased after forming such OPEC. How much? 20, 30, 50, 40%, 100%, 400% prices were increased after forming this OPEC. So such kind of exploitation may be there if the government, but this was an international creation. Na? So, but in country, this was the example just for to give you an idea how these kind of collusion can be effective for their collective profit, right? So in a country, within a country, the government always try that such kind of collusion not happen, contract not happen, not formed, so that the customer may be exploited. For them, the government has to take the. Now, what kind of steps government? The other measures include market liberalization by including competition in previously monopolistic sector. Where there was earlier monopolistic sector, now government has simply liberalizing this sector, like energy and telecom sector. बताऊं मैं, पहले टेलीकॉम सेक्टर की बात करें, अभी फिर धीरे धीरे ये वापस से ओलिगोपोली. नाउ एट प्रेजेंट टेलीकॉम सेक्टर, which form of market telecom sector in India? Can anyone say? At present, the telecom sector is which kind of market? Whether it is perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, or oligopoly market? Anyone? So it is at present purely a oligopoly market, where there are a few brands in the market, few supply telecom communication companies in the market. One is VI, Vodafone and Idea merged. Other one is Jio, and the third one is all these three companies are there: V, Jio, and Airtel, right? And the fourth one of the government, that is MTNL, that BSNL, right? So earlier it was purely monopoly of the government. It was purely monopoly of the government. In starting, there was monopoly. No, Dikshita, now it is not monopoly or monopolistic competition. Presently, the telecom sector is oligopoly market, beta. Oligopoly. But in starting, there was monopoly. How the monopoly was there? Because the government has the full control. That at that time, no private companies were there when telecom sector started in India, and the government has the full control. MTNL, BSNL, है ना? So these were the government's units. But at that time, that telecommunication was very much costlier. Even for the incoming calls, customers have to pay the prices. Outgoing calls, 10 rupees, 16 rupees per minute was the uh, call rates at that time. है ना? Incoming even 10 in a very starting when their government has a monopoly over that. But when the government started liberalizing this, after liberalization, the private companies started entered in the market. And when the private companies started to enter the market, the prices fell down, right? So prices decrease होने लगे, services better होने लगी, competition होने लगा, right? So this controls on merger and acquisition, the government try to control such kind of merger acquisition where the companies are the motive or intention of the companies to merge or acquire the other companies to make it a large and to dominate the market, right? सो इसके लिए आप आगे पढ़ोगे मर्जर एक्विजिशन एक्ट वगैरह इसको रोकने के लिए देयर आर सच काइंड ऑफ लिमिटेशन सच काइंड ऑफ कंडीशन लिमिटेशन ऑफ द अमाउंट ऑफ द मर्जर और एक्विजिशन की इससे ज्यादा का आप मर्जर नहीं कर सकते देयर आर सम रिस्ट्रिक्शंस आप पढ़ोगे इसी सब्जेक्ट price capping price regulation I have told you government for the consumers benefit for the interest of consumers government fix the maximum price ceiling बोलते हैं price ceiling so that no one can charge the prices higher than that price right firms marginal cost average cost past prices possible inflation वगैरह इस सब के लिए government regulate करती है even profit or rate of return regulation कि many cases the government even set the maximum profit margin also you can maximum charge this percentage of profit margin where the government has a fear that if they are not controlled for example you can say in private schools you see in Delhi from the past many years right since the Aam Aadmi Party is ruling in the Delhi from that year from that time the private schools have not raised their fees. Now the circular has been given the permission by the Delhi government given to the private school that they can raise their fees by 15% after so many years. So government can even control your price or profit margin in those cases where government has a fear that if they are unregulated or untamed, they will charge a very high prices by exploiting the service receiver or consumers, right? So in many cases, government even fixes their maximum profit margin or rate of return. Performance targets, performance standards. For example, in case of you say DTH, direct to home, like Tata Sky, like Airtel, इन सब ने स्टार्ट कर दिए थे ना अपने डिश एंटीना डिश टीवी भी था उसमें टाटा स्काई था ये सब सो जब ये आ गए तो देवर ऑल्सो अगर इफ द ट्राई और द गवर्नमेंट not control over them so they will charge the higher prices for the services for the channels they are providing you but the government control them right and even on the performance standards also you know the private companies in telecom sector when you call up जब आप कॉल करते हो किसी को किसी नंबर पे तो जो रिंग टोन उस पे बजती है उसका भी एक टाइम लेंथ गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड कर रखी है मैनी टाइम्स द प्राइवेट कंपनीज टू रिड्यूस देयर कॉस्ट दे इवन शॉर्ट दैट रिंग टोन रिंग फॉर फ्यू सेकेंड्स 1 or 2 seconds कम कर देते हैं and for that the government has penalized them very huge राइट, इस पे पेनल्टी है गवर्नमेंट अगर ऐसा पता चलता है. सो डू नॉट, even the performance standard government has decided, and if these are find to be lesser than those standards, then they will be penalized by the government. Patronage to customer association, government also provided support to the to making the customers association. Government can, the customers can make their association, and these association controlled over, watch over the them, है ना. Tough investigation into the cartel, so that unfair practices or cartels or collusion cannot be framed, cannot be made. So tough investigations are done. Restrictions on monopsony power of the firm. What is monopsony, sir? Monopsony is the just opposite to the monopoly, beta. Like in monopoly, where there is a single seller, large number of buyer, in monopsony there is a single buyer, large number of seller. It is just opposite to the monopoly. And this monopsony is also the cause of the any type of imperfect competition, whether it is monopoly, whether it is monopsony, whether it is monopolistic competition, oligopoly. All these kind of imperfect form of market are the main cause of market failure, inefficiency in the market. Reduction in import controls, right? Import controls means whatever the high. Patronage means बच्चे बढ़ावा देना, to encourage the to the consumer association, to, है ना. तो government encourage the consumers to form their associations, right. So उनको बढ़ावा देना, support करना, patronage means supporting. And reduction in import controls means earlier there was a very high import duty, custom duties or tariff rates of the imported goods, but now the government is very much rationalize the import taxes or tariffs, so that the important necessary goods can be import from outside at the low taxes, at the low price, right. And nationalization. What is nationalization? Nationalization is just opposite to the disinvestment or privatization. It is just opposite to the privatization. In case of privatization, the government open the private sectors, or in disinvestment, government sell the share of their public sector share or its share to the private sector. But in nationalization, government purchase the private sector, private firm. The government take the, for example, in 1949, RBI, which was formed, which was established in 1935, right? Under the RBI Act 1934. Reserve Bank of India was established in 1935, started it working in 1935 under RBI Act 1934, right? But it was that time was a private sector, private shareholders bank. उसमें शेयर होल्डर्स का पैसा लगा हुआ था. इट वाज अ प्राइवेट शेयर होल्डर्स बैंक. आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस इन 1949 द गवर्नमेंट nationalized it. What is the meaning of nationalization? The government pay the whole paid up capital of the shareholders and took the whole 100% control of stake in RBI, right? So that is called nationalization. It is common that some of the regulatory, so all such kind of regulatory and incentives, है ना? So many times it is common that some of the regulatory responses of government to incentive failure tends to create and protect monopoly position of firms that have developed unique innovations. For example, patent. Every one of you aware about the patent. What is the patent? In case of patent or copyright, law grant exclusive right of products process of this. But many times this is important because due to the patent, the new they will get the incentives of the inventions, right? As in case of startup companies. Yes, yes, Diksha. To take nationalization means to took all control under government. Very good. So see, many times the government provide the patent or copyrights, है ना? And these patent and copyright are also important for the take as an incentive for the inventions. Like in case of Startup India, what is the motive behind the Startup India? The motive behind the Startup India policy of the government, present government, is basically to create, to promote the inventions, innovations, right? Whenever the new ideas and unique ideas will be invented, innovated, and they will come under the startup project. So government provide them the benefits, and also it will create new product, new techniques, and even these uniqueness will be beneficial for the consumers also, right? So another example is that of permitted natural monopoly. Natural monopoly can produce that the entire output of market at a cost that is lower than what it would be if there were several firms. So natural monopoly means the government many times realize that if this particular product is open up for the several firms, there will be very high cost. And if it is produced by any single firm, then it can be produced at a very low cost. So at that, because the single firm here will produce at a very large scale, you can say economies of scale, right? Whenever the single firm will produce it at a very large scale, the firm will get the economies or benefits of scale. You have learnt about that economies of scale in microeconomics. And in that case, the government will promote to the natural monopoly to only that company or to only that producer to produce the entire output at the lower cost so that the price can be minimized. For example, natural monopoly are electricity, gas, water supply. So here in India, we can say the government has taken the natural monopoly under its hand. In its hand. तो गवर्नमेंट ने वो मोनोपोली अपने हाथ में रखी है because if it open to the private and so many firms, there will be the different prices and exploitation. But here the government can produce at a very large scale at a low cost, right? So there can be a fair prices of these essential services. Now, government intervention to correct externalities. How the government correct the externalities? Very simple. I have already told you. To control the negative externalities, the government will impose the fine, will impose the challan, penalties, right? So there are two types, na? Positive and negative. So as you may easily recall, freely functioning market produce externalities because producer and consumers need to consider only their private cost and benefits. They do not care about the social cost or social benefit, right? So due to which there are many times created a market failure. So this implies that all cost and benefit need to be internalized by the consumer and producer, right? So whenever the market failure arises due to positive or negative externalities, so in that case, how the government will intervene? The government have numerous methods. There are so many methods in case of externalities, okay, to reduce the effect of negative externality and to promote the positive externality. So we shall first examine how government regulation can deal with the inefficiency arising from negative externality. We are talking about the negative externality. And if you have listened carefully, then you have, I have already told you in case of to reduce the negative externalities, government will simply penalize those persons, those industries who are creating pollution, who are destroying the environment, right? So since the most commonly referred negative externality is pollution, we shall take it as an example in the following discussion. Government initiative towards negative externalities क्या होगा? Direct control or regulation that openly regulate the action of those involved in generating negative externalities. So government can put the direct control. Direct control means simple. Government can check, government can uh, put the penalty or challan, right? Market-based policy that would provide economic incentives so that the self-interest of market participants would achieve the socially optimal solution. और अदरवाइज गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी, मार्केट बेस्ड पॉलिसीज भी अपनाएंगे. अब ये दोनों कैसे होती हैं, हाउ दीज टू वर्क्स, सी डायरेक्ट कंट्रोल्स आल्सो नोन एज कमांड सॉल्यूशन, prohibiting specific activities. Government can put the restrictions on such activities that explicitly create negative externalities. For example, government may limit the amount of certain pollutant. You know, कि whenever these industries have to put the chimneys where the air pollution is getting. So they have to install the chimneys, they have to install some devices so that the pollutants can be minimized, the effect of pollutants can be minimized. And the government fix the certain criteria of the pollutant. How much percentage of such kind of pollutants should they can expose to the environment. And in those cases, the government authorities go to these factories time to time and check the air quality in the surrounding environment. And if they get the air quality and the pollutants in the air, in the smoke, you know, created by these factories is more than the percentage or criteria or limit set by the government, they will be penalized, right? Licensing, production quota, they government have fixed in many places maximum quantity what they can produce, that is called production quota. Licensing, they have to take the license for these kind of industries like chemical industries or such. So government, they have to take which we can say the hazardous things. So for the factories or manufacturer producing hazardous things, they have to take the license. And whenever they apply for the license, they fulfill some criteria fixed by the government, right? So, and mandate regarding acceptable production process. For example, these are the example of the direct intervention by the government. Production, use, and sale of many commodities and services are prohibited in our country. For example, smoking is completely banned in many public places. And anyone who is fined while smoking in public places where it is strictly banned, then there is a provision of challan penalty. You cannot smoke in a hospital. You cannot smoke in school, college, right? So there are so many places, public places where totally smoking is banned. And if anyone caught there, is caught while smoking there, so there is a provision of penalties. Right. Similarly, there is a ban of in respect of tobacco advertising. There is a ban of the tobacco advertising also. So you can see in the television, TV, everyone knows what is Vimal, Shah Rukh Khan, and even Ajay Devgan and Akshay Kumar advertising for them, for the product Vimal. That is not Vimal. They are not giving advertising it by saying that tobacco or gutka. They are saying that there is a kesar in it. But everyone know by the name of the brand that these are the tobacco based masala, pan masala or whatever it is, right? But they are advertising, but not directly saying by tobacco. So there is a totally strict ban over the advertisement of the tobacco, packaging, labeling, etc. And even in case of the cigarettes, you see the whole packet, one side is totally clearly there should be mentioned in a clearly that it causes cancer. Even if you go to the pawn shop, you know, there will be putting the banners of these smoking is injurious to health, it causes cancer, all such they have to put there, right? So government may passes laws to, because government even does not want to promote these things, right? So government can directly put some kind of restriction over them, but you cannot stop them. You cannot stop any person using this, because he's paying for that, and he's also getting the what we say utility. Consumer of these things also get the utility. Government stipulated the environmental standard and rules that protect the environment also. For example, in India, there is a Environment Protection Act 1986, Environment Protection Act, and this is also called Umbrella Act, because in this act, and whenever you are calling environment protection, so air, it is protection of air pollution also, है ना? Here it is control of water pollution also, noise pollution also, right? So it is all इसके अंदर ही आते हैं, air pollution control act, water pollution control act, noise pollution control act. So the government may, through legislation, by passing the law, fix emission standard. What is the emission standard? That how much pollutant a factory can maximum emit, and if there is a content of pollutant in the smoke of out of these factories is more than that limit, then they have to pay the fine, right? So these are the another method to is to charge an emission fee, which is levied on each unit of firm's emissions. The government is also charging them emission fees, because there are many industries where you cannot totally restrict the pollution. The smoke तो होगा ही होगा उन इंडस्ट्रीज में. You cannot say कि smoke बिल्कुल ना होगा, but फिर उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट even fix some rules that these kind of industries can be set up only some specific places like industrial areas. The government has defined as industrial areas. Though such kind of industry can be open in the industrial area, no, not in or around the residential area, right? So such kind of direct actions the government has taken. Similarly, forest. For instance, the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Pollution Control Board of India, State Pollution Control Board of India, है ना? So these are the bodies who regulate, who control, right, such kind of pollution. The market-based approach, environmental taxes and cap and trade operation through price mechanism to create incentives for change. In other words, they rely on economic incentive to accomplish the environment goals or less cost. इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है? सेटिंग प्राइस डायरेक्टली थ्रू अ pollution tax. The government is charging pollution tax. If such companies are found to be making pollution, they have to pay pollution. Setting the price indirectly through the establishment of cap and trade system. What is the cap and trade system? The government can fix the maximum quota quantity restriction that the factory can produce by taking license, right? So an externality is internalized if the person or a group that generated the externality incorporated into private or internal cost benefit calculation. So simply you can say कि whatever the external cost that is that has to be bear by the third party, that cost which is external cost. So इसको reduce करने के लिए the government can simply penalize those persons who are putting these negative externalities to the whole societies. So one method of ensuring internalizing the negative external, imposing the pollution tax, right? So what I have told you, either by taxes or by penalty. The size of tax depend on the amount of pollution a firm produce. If a firm is producing much pollution, it has to pay higher taxes. These taxes are named as the Pigwin taxes. Why this is called Pigwin taxes? Because these kind of taxes provisions was first advocated by A.C. Pigou, who gave the concept that and externality cannot be elevated by contractual negotiation between affected parties. So he said there should be taxes. So the concept of putting taxes on those industries, on those persons creating negative externalities was given by AC Pigu, and after his name, such kind of taxes are known as a Pigouin taxes, right? So more precisely, the tax is placed on externality itself. So government can put the taxes on those, right? So you can see what we have seen in the diagram. So how these costs can be. So government put the taxes. See, the same diagram is there. This line is extra. This line, what you are seeing, this line is the taxes line. How this line reduce the, you see, this whole portion was earlier deadweight loss. This whole portion was deadweight loss or failure. Now after putting taxes, when government put the taxes, so the marginal private cost will increase because they have to pay the taxes. So this line goes to there, right? Now in this case, that equilibrium point, this is the taxes. The government is charging this much deadweight loss from the producer in the form of taxes, and only this one is the marginal social cost. So whenever the government put the taxes to the producers, the put the burden of the taxes to the producers, so the whole, that was the deadweight loss, and that deadweight loss will be reduced to only this, because this loss will be charged from the producer in the form of taxes. Is it clear, beta? So this is how the government can put the taxes and reduce the deadweight loss or social cost को वो reduce कर सकते हैं, right? But there are certain problems because few economists are not in favor of say such kind of pollution tax. What are the problem? The argument against the pollution tax. So those who are not in favor of the pollution tax, what they give their points. So their point is pollution tax are difficult to determine and administered because it is difficult to discover the right level of taxation. How can you put the rate of the taxation? So that would ensure that the private cost plus taxes will exactly equate the social cost. So अगर आप इसमें प्राइवेट कॉस्ट और टैक्सेस भी डाल दोगे तो ये टैक्सेस भी तो किस पे जाएंगे, प्राइस में ही ऐड करेंगे ना. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि whenever you put the taxes on these, so the producer will put the burden in the price. If the demand for good is inelastic, in case of the demand is inelastic, what is inelastic? Means the consumer will purchase if there is, है ना. So in that case producer will shift the burden. अभी मैंने बोला ऊपर वाला point में कि if the product has an inelastic demand, then the producer will shift the whole burden of this taxes to the consumer. So there is no way out to this. So this method does not provide any genuine solution to the problem. It is only an incentive system हो सकता है, which are less polluting, ये हो सकता है, but this is not a genuine. So main क्या है? Basically आप उनको इस पे focus करो कि they should install the devices so that the pollution can be minimized, right? Pollution taxes also have potential negative consequence on employment and investment, because high pollution tax in one country may encourage producer to shift their production facility to other country where there is a less taxes. So it will also create unemployment, less production, because those companies who feels that there are much higher pollution tax, they will shift their production facilities or units to the other countries. And when these companies go out, the employment opportunity will reduce and national income will be affected, right? So that's why some economists are not in favor of this. Second approach or to establishing pricing indirectly is tradable emission permits. Means the government can, and this is basically followed by our country and other countries also. Practically this is followed, where the government fix a maximum cap and trade. What is cap and trade? Maximum limit government fix ki how much maximum percentage of the pollutant should be. A tradable permit is a license. Here government give the license and that allows the company to release a unit of pollution into environment over some period of time. कि एक particular period of time में say during a day, during a month, during a week, how much maximum eminent they can pollution या pollutant they can emission can be given, right? So ये limit government लगा सकते हैं. Whenever such maximum limit is given, that is called cap, right? So this is another method by not introducing, putting the taxes, they can also fix the maximum cap. Now, what is the, so government gave the, see, India is experimenting the cap and trade in the form of perform, achieve and trade. Perform, achieve and trade. That is called PAT scheme. And carbon tax in the form of cess on coal, because there is a very shortage of the coal in India, almost in whole world, but in India, the coal deposit are reducing. So there are some tradable permit, means where you have to take the permit, you have to take the license, only after that you can trade these. So what are the benefit of this? The system allows flexibility and rewards efficiency. The cap puts a clear upper limit. There is a maximum limit up to which the pollution can be generated. The market for permit enable a clear price of pollution that helps in internalizing the cost. It is administratively cheap and simple to implement and ensure that pollution is under the cap limit. It also provides strong incentive for innovation, and because whenever in that case every firm will want their R&D. What is R&D? Research and development. So the research and development department of every company, every industry, every firm will try to innovate such kind of techniques where less pollution is generated, right? And consumer may benefit if the extra profits are made by low pollution firm are passed to them, right? By lowering the price. So these are some direct or, है ना? So marginal. So whenever this happen, देखो लिखा है ना, research and development. I have told you R&D. तो research and development है ना, इस पे काम करेंगी. So it can be. Suraj is saying, sir, government plastic carry bag manufacturing company पर action क्यों नहीं लेती? No, single-use plastic are already banned by the government. Na? The government has banned the single-use plastic. Whatever the plastic is being used in the society is allowed. That is that plastic which can be recycled, right? So which can be recycled, and it is recycled there. Plastic carry bags are, but the public, देखो, not only the government खाली कुछ नहीं कर पाएगी, the public should also support, and such kind of policies or restrictions or rules are when government pass, then people, public should also follow them, right? They should carry their jute bags or cloth bags, right? So in this way the negative externalities can be reduced by providing the taxes, putting the restrictions. Now, in case of positive, since positive externalities promote welfare, the government implement policies that promote positive externalities. So, in case of positive externalities, government promotes it because through the positive externalities, there is a benefit to the whole society. So, government always try to promote the welfare programs or positive externality. When positive externalities are present, government may attempt to solve the problem through corrective subsidies. In those cases, government gives subsidies. किसको subsidies देगी? To the, जैसे हमने school वाला example पढ़ा था, private schools. So in that case, the government will give subsidy to the private school so that they can reduce their fees, their charges, their prices, so that maximum children can get the education, maximum population can be benefited by the education at the low prices, low fees. So in that case, whatever the inefficiencies generating through the positive externalities, government should minimize it by giving them but subsidies. So in that case, you can see when government provides subsidies, they go. This was when after providing subsidies, demand curve, right? This one. So it will providing subsidies. तो गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी, जितना ये लॉस हो रहा था इस लॉस को फिल करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट इस गैप की सब्सिडीज दे देगी. सो दैट एमपीवी कर्व शिफ्ट टू दिस, यहाँ जाएगा आफ्टर दिस एंड नाउ द इक्विलिब्रियम बिकम दिस. सो प्राइजेस विल इफेक्ट. तो प्राइजेस क्या हो जाएंगे इसमें, क्वांटिटी भी ज्यादा हो जाएगी और ये होगा ना, और प्राइजेस भी कम हो जाएंगे. ठीक. सो इन दैट केस, so where the government gives up, to whom the government gives subsidies here, the government will give subsidies to the producers, to the manufacturer, to the service provider, right? So that they can lower the price and they can produce more quantity of the goods and services, right? So this is all about the today's section, and in next session bachcho, we will start from the continue from the government intervention in case of married goods and another last fourth unit of this chapter, but in next session, right? So it is all about this session. Till then, take care. Bye bye.